I am so excited about this episode because it is a story about turning your passion into a business opportunity and never giving up. And I know that so many of us have this desire, this passion of wanting to do something, but we might be held back. There might be fear in moving forward, or maybe you do have a passion and you move forward on it and there's doubt, or, you're just kind of going through the motions of like, how do I make this work? And I will just tell you that this episode, I think, is for you if you can relate to those. And if you can't, it's just inspirational. It's such a great story. Kelly Gunn and I have known each other for 11 years. We used to work together at Snap Retail and a couple other businesses, as well as she's helped me do some sales through Crystal Media. We just have had this business relationship and a friendship, and she is just sharing her story of going from, having the height of her career and making a lot of money and being, a hot commodity on the market of people wanting to work with her, to launching something that did not work, and it crashed and it burned, and she had to rebuild from that and kind of figure out what's next and start working with not as great of companies and kind of figure out what she wants to do with her life, and took a leap of faith and did what she's passionate in. And she shares this story, and you'll get to hear where she is today, which is very exciting, what she's done and what's to come in the future as well. I think you're really going to enjoy this episode. So grab a glass of wine or drink of choice, and I'll see you in the episode. Let's dive in. Hello, I'm Crystal Vilkaitis. I'm a curious, wine-loving entrepreneur who loves to learn and have open and honest conversations. Join me and my amazing guests as we talk about all sorts of relatable business and life stuff. It's my goal that you'll have fun, learn something new, and get inspired. Wine is not required, but is recommended. This is Crystal Uncorked. Kelly, welcome to Crystal Uncorked. I'm so excited you are here.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Crystal. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. Okay, before we dive in, I need to know, what are you drinking?
Of course, if you know me, I have my Yeti full of Coca-Cola.
Yes, I do know you. And in fact, we were prepping for this show and I'm like, I have a picture of you with a Coca-Cola can. Like, I need to find that and put it on our show notes.
It's never too far away.
Yeah, right. I mean, you are obviously very much Coca-Cola. Are you like absolutely hating Pepsi?
Oh yeah. If I'm at a restaurant and they don't offer Coke, I'm saving them calories. I'll have water.
Yep. Okay. Good to know. I do have wine today. I am drinking a
Nice.
Fogland Cab from Columbia Valley in Washington. Very bold red wine. Never tried it before, but I really love it and recommend it. So we'll link to it in the show notes. And before we get started, I am so excited about today's episode because it's all about turning your passion into a business opportunity and never giving up. And so I know there's going to be a lot of inspiration today that people will leave from your story, Kelly. But before we get into it, I just want to share two favorite memories that I have of you, because we have known each other we met in 2010, so 11 years. And we have worked in several different capacities together. We have traveled together, including all the way to New Zealand. And
yeah, that was a good gig.
That was such a cool gig. So my two favorite things about you is when I very first met you in Las Vegas, I was kind of like applying and seeing if I wanted to work with the team at Snap Retail. And you were trying to recruit me, and we went and we toured Zappos. And Zappos is like, this great online shoe company that's known for just doing the right things when it comes to their culture and employees, and businesses can go tour. And we did that. And there was part of the tour where you're in the offices with people working in their cubicle and they have a megaphone and you can say something on the megaphone. And nobody, that what I remember, nobody in our group said anything except for Kelly. And you were like,
Of course.
yeah, of course. And you were like, you were like, Crystal, we really hope you joined our team. Like just kind of making it. And I was embarrassed and I loved it. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel the love. And I remember telling Dustin about it that night from my hotel room. That was so fun. So that's memory number one. And memory number two is when you told me when we went to New Zealand to do the jewelry show together, you were in the van on the way to the airport selling a jeweler into Crystal Media programs, like signing them up.
That's right. I remember that. I think it was early morning, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I think it was like 5 a.m. and you're just there signing people up. You're a true salesperson. Love it.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into your story. This is a pretty amazing journey. You have really been on a kind of a roller coaster. There's been highs and lows. And I would love for you to take us kind of through that journey of where you were in your career. And I know that you faced some struggles and adversity, but you did make it out. And of course, you'll share the journey and where you are today. And then I'd love to spend some time of what you're doing today.
Sure.
But tell us what happened, Kelly.
Sure. Well, I've had a great career, a great life, and it's really started from the beginning. So it's been about 25 years since I was in the gift and home industry. And I actually started as a retail worker back in 95. I worked for a local retailer. And soon after had an opportunity to become a sales rep. Now, think about this in your mind. I went from making about $11 an hour to becoming an independent sales rep, and we represented multiple vendors. We would sell all kinds of garden lines or gift lines to different retail stores. So I was basically traveling all over central Massachusetts selling my goods. And I went from making $11 an hour to my first year making about $80,000. Now,
wow.
Imagine being a young military wife, 2 little girls at home, and how life-changing that can be, right? So all of a sudden I knew, okay, this industry is good for me. I have found my passion. I have found something I'm really good at. So let's go, pedal to the metal. So my early years, gosh, I was an independent rep for about 5 years. And I was always that star performer. I had to be number one. I had to be the top sales rep, super competitive, coming out of the womb, super competitive. And
yeah,
and
wait,
it was
you competitive?
Yeah.
No way.
I know, right? I know. So it was just, it was just a natural thing for me. So I was doing so well. I found my niche. So then we moved to Virginia. My husband gets stationed down in Virginia. And I'm like, you know what? I have mastered this independent rep thing. So what else can I do? What's that next step? What's the next level? So I thought I really need to start my own sales agency and hire gals to work for me throughout my new Mid-Atlantic region. So that's what I did. And it sounds super easy, but okay, you have no reps, you have no vendors to represent. So you got to go out and convince vendors that you're an awesome sales team, which by the way, I have no salespeople yet. So you got to get them to take a leap of faith that, right, I've got something. So we did it, by hook or by crook. We started a group called the Power Group, which was really an awesome group. It was an acronym for Proud, Outstanding Women, Energizing Retail. And we were superheroes in our logo, and we were here to save the retail day. And the thing that made us successful, first of all, we were fun, we were passionate, but people knew, especially our vendors, we were hungry and we were out to prove a point, and we were going to succeed no matter what. So that really came across. And the more vendors I got, the more salespeople I got, and it just kind of grew organically. So believe it or not, we now have, 8 different gals throughout the mid-Atlantic. And all of a sudden, we're like this threat. We're the threat to the big guys, the big national rep groups. And I'm like, what is happening here? This little girl from, who was just a sales rep like 5, 6, 7 years ago. So I've created this thing that so proud of. And all of a sudden, a national company contacted me and said, you know what? We cannot do anything down in the mid-Atlantic because you're there. So if we can't beat you, why don't we buy you? So here I had somebody coming to me saying, we want to acquire your company. So it was tough. Now, this is 2008. By the grace of God, this was 2000. Actually, it was 2007. So imagine had it been a year later, right? 2008, when the crash hit, everything is timing.
Yeah.
So it's 2007. And we decided, okay, let's sell the company. And I did. So God was watching over me. Yes, it was perfect timing. It was a good decision. So what I did then was go to work for this national company. So there's a little bit of a, selling your soul to the devil kind of thing that happens here. So It was great. I sold the company. I made my paycheck. But now I'm no longer in charge of my destiny, right? I no longer have that ability to create and do what I want. I started the next phase of my career where I was constantly working for a paycheck rather than working for my passion, if that makes sense.
Right.
So I had to contractually go to work for a little bit to the company that bought me. And as soon as I could, I ventured out. And because I had just made this journey and made this kind of name for myself throughout the industry, people were calling me. Big A-list vendors or big A-list companies were all of a sudden saying, hey, do you want to be our VP of sales? Do you want to, help grow our team? Do for us what you did, for yourself and for these other companies. Like, yeah, that sounds exciting. Let's do that. So I started working for, again, other people. And just gradually, you get yourselves all of a sudden locked into this situation where you've got like these golden handcuffs. And it is, people have said that to me my whole life, but it is so true. You just get stuck in this pattern of, okay, I'm used to making this now. I've adjusted my lifestyle to making this. And so I have to continue making this, to be able to support my lifestyle, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, my kids were getting older. They were getting closer to, high school, college years. So there's just a lot of pressure on you, your financial responsibilities.
Right. Well, Anne, can I just say something like being competitive?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, you're fine. I mean, being competitive like you are, and you're an achiever. Like, I feel like you and I are both competitive and we like to achieve. And so you are building yourself up and you're achieving and you're achieving and you're achieving. And so, yes, there's those golden handcuffs, but there's also this like drive within you where you're like, okay, this is my level now. So now I stay here or I go up, right? So there's an element of that.
And that's exactly right. Because, even if there had been an opportunity that might have made me happier, if it had been down that professional ladder, that would have been a non-starter for me, because that was just as much incentive for me as money was. Right. So, finally I've decided, I'm super entrepreneurial. So I wanted to start something again on my own. And at this point, I'm very industry-wide known. I'm very, people know me, very familiar with me, very visible, I guess is the word. And so I start this company. It was a fundraising company to help vendors get into, the fundraising unit for schools, that kind of thing. And it was a phenomenal flop. So it wasn't just like you start this new business and you failed and okay, you can go on to the next thing. I had gotten so many people engaged and as a part of it, and they had financial obligations with me. And so when I fell and failed, it was done in front of everybody. So no longer was I this golden girl, the one who could do everything, this power girl. You know, I had fallen. My halo had slipped. And it just began this like tumbling for me where I really just got into a pit. And no longer were the A companies calling me. I was getting B companies if I'm lucky, and C companies. And so here I am back now in this path of working for somebody else that isn't even the caliber of the one I wasn't happy with before. Right. So I'm in this rut, big rut. And I was miserable. So at that time, I was probably 54 years old. And I thought, oh my gosh, I peaked in my 40s. This is it. It's all downhill from here. So just that, especially for someone with my drive and my ambition, that was like, a bummer. It really was mentally so challenging,
Right.
So about 3 years ago, it was my last company that I was working for. And culture has always been super, super important to me. And I had literally been with them for 6 weeks. 6 weeks I had taken the job 6 weeks earlier as their head of sales and marketing. And one day, I was just watching the culture around me, this management style that I always, just kind of management by fear. Just everybody was so nervous. Everybody was so uncomfortable. And I was traveling. I had to be there like 2 weeks a month. So I was away from my happy place, away from my family, constantly in this culture of angst and discomfort and fear. And I thought, you know what? Nothing is worth this. No amount of money is worth this. And my daughter was pregnant and about to have a baby. And I said, what am I doing? My priorities are so jacked. They're so screwed up. I have got to get my act together here. Because you know what happens? You start having all of these professional challenges. They absolutely fall into your personal life. Your family's impacted by it. Everyone that you love is impacted by it. So
right.
I made the scary decision to leave. And yes, my husband could technically pay my just my basic of bills. So yeah, that is an advantage. But to all of a sudden lose, 40%, 50% of your income without any, knowledge of it coming back at you, that's a scary, scary, scary thought. So,
right.
But I did it. I decided to do it.
I mean, you were with that company, like, at an executive level. I mean, it was a big position, a big role in the company. So to leave, that's a lot, right? There's a lot of decisions there, but it sounds like all of a sudden there was this pause moment for you of like, what really is meaningful? What do I really want? And this is not it. I need to get the fuck out of this. This is not it. And so you took a leap of faith.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that word came up a few times. Yes. Yeah. What am I doing? Yeah. Right. So back up a little bit. On the weekends, my husband and I have always loved vintage. We love going to antique stores. We love going to estate sales. And that would be my escape from all my stress and my craziness of work. I would have these, we would love going vintage shopping. As a matter of fact, we actually got to appear on 2 different television shows, vintage competitive shows, which were so cool. That, So anyway, so we get, it was this competition thing. But that really convinced me, kind of brought to light for me this, wow, too bad you can't make money doing this. Wouldn't it be awesome to, make a living out of something that you love so much? So what I had done, right before, this was back in, at this point, I started a website, not even a website. It was a Facebook page and an Instagram page called Part-Time Pickers. And what I would do is just sell the few things that I would find on the weekends at the estate sales, and I would list them and I would sell them, and I would build my following, and it was fun. It was a total hobby. It was something I looked forward to, and it was just great fun. I got to play with my little social media marketing skills, and it was a good time. So I had this kind of sitting on the back burner when, I had made this big change, this big decision to leave the industry. So I said, you know what? I'm going to see what I can do with Part-Time Pickers. What if I put all my effort into my passion instead of this other thing out there that's giving me a paycheck? I wonder what I could do. I'm good at building. I could do this, I think. So let's go for it. Let's just do it. What am I waiting for? So that was 3 years ago. Starting today, we now have Part-Time Pickers. We've got about 75,000 followers
Woo!
On Facebook. Yes, and Instagram combined.
Love
yes.
It. Yeah.
So, it's like this victory, but it's more than just, people are excited to follow. I mean, they are engaged. It's like this competition for them. They cannot wait until a new item is posted. They fight for each other. And when people, win something, I get messages and comments all the time saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe I won. I'm so excited." And you'd think they got through on a radio show or something and won something or won the lottery. And I'm like, really? It's okay if you buy something from me. That's awesome.
Right.
But there's this mentality that it was a contest.
Right, because to clarify, so you post items on Facebook and Instagram, and it's a vintage. It's one of a kind. So first come, first serve. So they win it, but they're really buying it.
Right.
But they're so stoked that it's theirs. And I mean, talk about seriously. You have such an engaged audience. It's really cool to see what you've built.
Thank you. But so I mean, on top of them actually liking what I'm doing, all of a sudden I'm realizing, you know what? I'm making money at this. This is kind of good. And if I do this, and this, I can make more money on this. And do you know, Crystal, this year will be my highest earnings year of my entire career. So, I mean, it's who knew that this was possible? Who knew?
Kelly, amazing. So it's exciting. Amazing. Could you imagine? Can you imagine if you didn't take that leap 3 years ago, what your life would be like today?
No, I would be more miserable. My family would be more miserable. And do you know how much time I've been able to just spend with my granddaughter, my 3-year-old little Lucy? Oh. Because whenever, they need me, I can go. There's that flexibility that I've created within my own life to do what I want to do. And even when I'm working, It's fun. So.
Yeah. Now, as you were transitioning and you had this moment of okay, I'm leaving this corporate world. I want to kind of try to make my hobby more of a business. What kind of support? I've met Kevin, who's an amazing man. Did you have this family support? What did your daughters think? What'd your family think of you saying, "Hey, I want to turn this hobby into something more"?
Well, they're used to their mom always getting into something, Yep. So I think in the beginning it was oh, okay, she's doing this thing or that thing or whatever. But I think I was, every time I would have a little victory, I would be texting them, "Oh my gosh, do you believe I sold this for $79 or whatever?" And I would share these victories all the time, and they'd be like, "Oh wow, that's really good." And then over time, it's "Wait, you made how much this month? Or wait a second, oh my God, isn't that more than you made before?" All of a sudden, they were invested. This is a real thing, and they just got more and more excited for it. The cool thing is, my daughter Taylor she's a funeral director part-time. That's a whole nother webcast or video show. Right. But in her spare time, her hobby, she's a tailor. She's a seamstress. So she's Taylor the tailor. And she makes the most amazing aprons and pot holders and all of these fun cooking accessories. So I said, okay, what I need you to do is make all of those Pyrex oriented, Pyrex branded, so that I can sell them on my page for you. So you wouldn't believe the response she got from people all over the world wanting a Pyrex apron, wanting Pyrex pot holders, or, so it was a great way to bring her into it for fun. And then my other daughter, Sydney, was like, oh, Mom, I want to be a part of this. Can I go out on the picking trail? Can I find things for you that you can post? So I started, bringing in a few of her things so she could make some little extra money too. So they're definitely invested in the process and they're part of it for sure.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Now, where are you picking? Like are you staying in driving radius to where you live?
Well, it started that way. My biggest challenge with my whole business is I can't get enough. My public is insatiable. So I need more and more and more stuff. So we started expanding. Yeah. So it used to be just kind of Virginia and then it would spread out, but we literally are going all over the country. I pick all the way out to Texas twice a year now because Sydney's out in Texas. But we just got back from the biggest antique flea market in the world up in New England. So we spent 5 days up in New England and you just pick. And how fun is this? You just get to pick for your stuff and, find all these awesome treasures. And then you get to come home. Your truck is full. You're not allowed to come home until the truck is full. So the truck is full, packed. Thank God my husband, he's such an intricate part of my business. He's my muscle, but he's just my support system. And we load it all up. We bring it all home. We unloaded it all. And then, begins the process of posting and selling and packing and shipping. And so when I first come home with this major truckload of stuff, it's a little daunting. So I'm like, okay, one post at a time. You got this. And I used to think, because I learned so much from your social media classes, I used to think, okay, I have to be careful how many times I post. I don't want to wear them out. I don't want to tire them out or they turn me off or whatever. But these people are wild. It's awesome. They're so hungry. Yep. They can't wait to see, oh my God, what do you have next? And I have people private messaging me saying, okay, what are you about to post? And I'm like, no, that's not the rules. So that's not fair. So they have their notifications on. I've had people tell me, oh my God, it's the only thing I'll stop working for is when I hear that phone ding and I know it's part-time pickers. I have to see what it is. So it's like, yay, this is exciting. God, I love it. So that's what we're doing now.
Seriously, it's a culture, it's a movement, it's something people are so passionate in. It's not even selling, right? It's the shared interest, and of course you are selling, but people just love. If people like and love vintage, it's a
true tribe. It's a true tribe, like you say. I'm surrounded by my people, so it's nice.
Totally, yeah, it is your people because Kelly, I was in a flea market last weekend. And I get anxiety. I'm like, there's so many things here. I'm pretty sure I saw some old Pyrex stuff. And I'm like, I feel like that is, but then I have to go in to go find it. And then there's so many things and I just shut down. I'm like, I'll just meet you out front. Because Dustin kind of likes to look through stuff. And I'm like, I'm just going to wait outside. It's a lot. So I love your passion. I can't imagine coming home with a truck full. And now you've got a place to put all your things.
I do. You've heard about my she shed. Yeah. So the she shed was a big deal because it was taking over my house kind of. And, you always need a mental place just to kind of get away from it, have a break from it, because it is kind of messy when you're first getting home, especially. And while I tried to keep it contained, it kind of had a life of its own. So I said, you know what? With the success of the business, I need to be smart too and invest back in it. I really need my own building. So we have a little bit of property. So I'm like, what if we put a 3-car garage here to support part-time pickers? So we did. And I am just so proud of the fact that I took my own money. I saved all my own money that year and I built my she shed, which is not quite open. It's just the most gorgeous thing you've seen. I don't know. I think you have a picture, so you'll have to share it. But it's where Kevin's doing all of the build out from the inside, and we should be in a couple of months. So I'm very, very excited about that. But you know what, Crystal? It's not just about this, mental peace of mind or this mental, I should say, success or this accomplishment. Every time I walk into that place, it's a physical place, a physical structure that reminds me I made the right decision and I did good and I should be proud of myself. And it's important to me for that reason. So
I have chills all over my body. That is
really?
yes, it's such a powerful reminder of the leap of faith that you took and not giving up and following your passion and being like, I really think there's something here. And for you to be like, I paid for this from the money that I did, not really part-time picking. I feel maybe
That's right.
I mean, I actually would love to know from a business perspective, like, is it a full-time job for you? Are you able to, I mean, you're spending a lot of time with your grandchild, which is amazing. But because you don't really have help, do you? Is it kind of you right now?
I don't. I'm a one-man operation, except for, like I said, my husband will come to these buying trips with me and he'll unload stuff for me because that in itself I could not do. But it is all me. I'm a one-man operation. So it is definitely full-time. Of course, the more I want to make, the more I have to be able to sell. So it's this, it takes on a life of its own. But
Right.
definitely it's full-time. And you know how it is with any business of your own. You just want to see growth and you get passionate about it and you get excited about it. And any sign of growth just propels you. And sometimes it's hard to stop. It's hard to stop. So
Right. Well, and speaking of not stopping, you're moving into a new launch that's all kind of just, built up from part-time pickers.
yes.
And when this podcast is live, something will have just been released. What is that, Kelly?
I have started my own podcast
Yay!
and it's called Crazy Good Vintage. And every week we're doing a podcast about different vintage topics. So it could be about these awesome vintage brands like Pyrex or Tupperware, or even different products that, vintage canisters, something fun, or just different things that happened in vintage pop culture, like S&H green stamps, or, just different fun vintage topics. But we're also going to be chatting with people who have found success in the vintage industry. So maybe there are listeners out there that want to know, hey, how can I do what you did? Or how can I be successful if I have a booth at an antique store? So we'll bring folks on to chat about that kind of stuff too. So it's very, very exciting.
I freaking love this concept for a podcast. And when you told me about it, I was just like, this is so a no-brainer. I feel like I'm going to be like, oh, remember the time Kelly Gunn was on my show, Crystal Uncorked? I mean, I'm so excited. I think it really, like, knowing this culture, the tribe of people, you are bringing something so
Yeah.
special to them. And I'm so excited to see what happens here. I know it's going to be great.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm excited. Okay. And I have to say, so when we were prepping for this, you said something on our phone call. You were saying how you're a grandma and you didn't want people to feel afraid or like they had to be young to start over because when you did all this, you were in your like mid 50s.
Yeah.
And you took a leap and you started over. I mean, will you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So it really was that moment where I thought, okay, I've hit my peak. I was in my 40s and now it's over. And that is just something that's always kind of resonated in my head, kind of sat there. And when I decided to make this leap of faith at 54, and then starting to see results and how you truly at any age can be in control of your destiny. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it is so, so true. If you can just get the confidence, which is really hard, right? When you're at your worst, when you're in the bottom, when you're just feeling so terrible. If you could just pick those little glimpses of positivity that come and tuck them into your little confidence bank and let that grow and grow and grow, it's just amazing how it feeds on itself and it just keeps going and it keeps going. And you just take the little wins at first, but those little wins become big wins. And before you know it, you've created this thing that could care less about the fact that you're 57 now. You have something really valuable to offer to people. And if you're excited about it, that's contagious and you can get other people excited about it. And that's my lesson that I've learned and I'd love to share with other people. So,
oh my gosh, hands down, because you often will hear, well, I'm too old. Or, in my crystal media business, a lot of the retailers I work with are 50, 60, 70 plus, often women. And they're trying to learn social media, and that feels really challenging because they're like, I didn't grow up with this technology. I'm a dinosaur. It changes all the time. And they feel like I'm never going to be able to do it. But then I've had people who trusted me and who do it. And then some of them will be crying the next time I see them, saying, like, you gave me the confidence. I can do this. And really, I'm just like, this isn't me. Like, you did that. You committed to yourself. You taught yourself.
That's
you
right.
learned, you committed, you did it. And you saw that you are capable, which you are. And that was so you too, learning technology, learning from a social, because you're purely social. I mean, the way that you are delivering this is Facebook primarily, right? Like that is.
And Instagram.
Yeah. And Instagram. Yeah. Those are the two spots. It's not even your own website. You're purely on social. But I'm so proud of you that you just like dove in. And for you, I mean, you're like, I feel like you're just like, I'll figure out whatever I need to figure out. I'm going to do it.
Well, my only daunting things, and I think this probably is a little age related, is the technology side of things. So when we started talking about podcast, I was like, oh gosh, I'm not sure. Will I be able to get this part of it or whatever? So what you actually helped convince me of, and this was just such a big aha moment for me, you don't have to do all of those little details yourself. Find somebody who's really good at it. And I've heard you say this for years. Find a younger person who's really good at social media to these retailers and let them do it for you. That's kind of the mindset I'm using with the podcast thing is I'm finding somebody who can, take the file, take my recording and then just run with it. Which it was per your suggestion. And it's exactly right. I don't have to be so good at every single aspect of it because you want to make sure that those aspects that you might be a little weak in, they don't prevent you from the big picture, from accomplishing the big picture. So that's it, arm yourself with other people, let them in, let them help you.
Oh my gosh, so true. I've been saying who, not how a lot lately. And especially if anybody is thinking about starting a podcast, I really can't stress this enough that like the whole editing and uploading, and if you're doing this every week, you will get burnt out. And there's no way that I would still be doing this show if I had to do all of that. And I'm so glad that you're going to just get started off with having people help you with that stuff so you can really bring your content to the forefront, interview people and share your tips and talk about things that people want to talk about and listen to, and you spend your energy doing what you're best at. So it's a huge game changer. You've got to have help.
Yeah, and that's the only way that you don't have to compromise anymore. No more compromising. Just work on what makes you happy and no more compromising.
Right. And I have to say, because I feel like some people could think like, oh, but you have to pay for that. You have to have a budget for that. Because I was kind of in that place. I was like, okay, this is a passion project, Crystal Uncorked. I'm just going to do everything. I'm realizing that I have a hard time actually asking for help. So I was just like, head down, I'm going to do everything. And I was on a ladies mastermind call. There's 6 of us ladies that meet every other week. And they're like, Crystal, why don't you just invest in yourself and get some help with this and just like do it because you know you love that you're doing this. It's almost like your hobby. So why don't you just invest in it? And you can give a deadline, but why don't you free some of that up and just be okay that that's an investment in yourself, the best kind of investment. And they were like, you pay for training and courses and blah, blah, blah. Why don't you pay for to free yourself up a little? And I'm like, whoa, okay. So that day booked a call and hired somebody, and seriously, which is Podfixer. I talk about them all the time on this podcast because I love them. One of the best decisions. But you have to invest in yourself. And it can be a little bit of a risk depending on your budget, or if you're brand new and you're like,
Sure.
trying to just pay your bills where you might not even be able to outsource some of that. And I understand that sometimes in the beginning, you have to just
Sure.
kind of do what you can until you get to that point. But the second you can get to that point, take it, because it's going to just help you really build momentum.
Because the more of, and by the way, I hired them today too. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, you're going to love them. You're going to love them.
I could tell I'm going to. And it does free you up to concentrate on the stuff that's going to generate more revenue. So you need that freedom, that mental freedom. So.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. Now, when we were prepping for this, you told me about a story of a troll. When you're online, and especially when you've got the big following that you do of 75,000 people. Yeah. I mean, look, a troll can come with just one follower, right? But like the bigger you get, the more that's going to get attention and exposure. Tell me about this ugly troll message that you got.
Well, of course, you can't be on social media without some level of troll. And what an appropriate name for these types of people, by the way. But usually the normal trolling, and I have to say, I'm very, very fortunate. I don't get a lot of it. But usually if I see something, it'll just be, okay, block. I have like a zero tolerance for unkindness, anything like that. I have zero tolerance. So, and I don't need that kind of following. That's the easy fix. But what happened when I was first starting, and this is when I was like maybe a couple thousand followers. So a few years ago, 3 years ago, maybe. I got this really ugly private message from a gal who it was literally like 3 text pages long. So basically just telling me how inept I was, how she really even got personal. I can remember commenting on, I don't even like to look at your stupid face. It was just, it was just the most ugly, negative, energized thing I'd ever seen. And it really kind of shook me. Fine, you don't like my face, whatever. That didn't bother me. But she really struck some chords with me that you're not good enough. You shouldn't be in this. You're out of your realm. You're just, this isn't for you. And I'm saying that nicely. Trust me. It was brutal. Right. And a lot of people that probably would have been like, oh my God. And I could have very easily kind of crawled back into my shell and, just kind of, internalize this thing. But I have saved that message. And I just recently looked at it a couple of weeks ago, because for me, that was so motivational. That motivated me. That I just got angry. And I was like, who are they to define who I can be? Who are they to put limits on me and, put all these assumptions on what they think I am out there? And I just said, I truly had this conversation. You cannot give them that control. You have to be more powerful than that. And anytime I'm feeling down, it's the craziest thing. I just look at that, and that just perks me right back up. So
I love it.
But there's some yucky people out there.
Oh, for sure. Well, and this is where you and I are very opposite, because I am very sensitive and it's not motivational to me. And I have a video that went viral on YouTube about me teaching what the heck a hashtag is. And it's like 12 or 13 years old by now. And I look like a baby. It's so adorable. But there are very like, great. This was so helpful. I finally understand what a hashtag is, like really nice things. And then there's
Right.
hashtag stupid dumb bitch. And I'm like, oh, what? Like, I'm just like, I'm not why? Just because I'm teaching, I get into my head and I'm like, I
Yes.
spiral. And so then there was a point where I was like, I can't look at the comments on this video. I need somebody to go in. My policy is like, if it's attacking, like bullying or cussing, it's blocked. If you really have like negative feedback, but it's valid, like that this wasn't helpful or I still don't get it or whatever, we'll keep it. But I had to have employees go through and filter through the comments and either block or respond because I couldn't look at it. And maybe I just need to get over that. But I need to channel Kelly Gunn and be like, this is my motivation.
I get it though. It screws with your head. It really does.
Yeah.
And it's even bad because even the little emojis that they'll put, if I see one laughing at me, all of a sudden it triggers this woman that, oh my God. So I have to like, okay, ignore the laughing faces because you know what? At the end of the day, they're probably laughing about this really cool thing that, oh, isn't this funny or whatever. But you have to be careful not to take it the wrong way and run with it in a wrong direction. So.
It's so true. And our minds are very powerful and they like to just run with stuff sometimes, especially if we're tired or hungry or feeling down.
Yes.
Like it just goes far.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, Kelly, so like I said, this is releasing and your podcast is live on October 12th, right? Is that our launch date? So
that is launch date.
This comes out on the 13th. So I want everybody to go over and check out Crazy Good Vintage and follow on social media, which you can already do, but this of course is going to be out after the podcast. And go to the podcast and subscribe and listen or send it to somebody that you know loves the vintage because Kelly has so much knowledge and information and is entertaining, as you can see from this. Like, I just am so stoked for anybody that's going to find this podcast. So please go check her out and share it. Kelly, you have also a book that you're working on too, right?
I know. Oh my gosh, who am I? So so we're actually working on a book. It'll come out next year sometime, but it's called Crazy Good Vintage, The Brands We Just Can't Quit. And it talks about all of these awesome vintage brands that we cannot get enough of. Even though they've been out of business for 20 years, 30 years, we just can't get enough of. So it's going to be talking about all these awesome different vintage brands and have awesome pictures in there of their product. And so that's step 2.
I love it. People are going to love that book. So be sure that you follow on social if you are interested in that book, because that's probably going to be the best way to learn about it and get notifications when it's available. I'm so stoked that you are taking this next step in your business. And I would love to know anything else you want to leave my followers or my audience with before we conclude today's show.
Well, I just, I appreciate y'all coming out to the podcast, listening, getting on social media and following us. If you love vintage, I'm telling you, we have really created your happy place. So come in and come on and get happy.
Oh, I love it. I see just like a beautiful vintage sunshine when you say that.
That's right.
This is totally not related, but we're Crystal Uncorked, and I have a personal question for you about me.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay. I have Invisalign, and I'm curious if you could tell if I have a lisp during our show.
No, not at all. I mean, not at all.
Not at all?
And now I have my glasses on so I can see you properly. I don't see a single thing. You look fantastic.
Okay. I catch my lisp, and there were a few parts of this. Every time I talk, I catch it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, but keep moving. But I get it off in less than 1 week. So I'm very excited about that. But I was just curious if you could, me personally, so if you picked up on it, but I'm glad that you didn't. So there we go.
No, you did good. And can I just take a minute to say that since 2010, did you say when we met? I think that's what you said.
Yeah.
I have just been so impressed with you. That's why I was screaming at Zappos about you to everybody, how awesome you were, because I wanted you to join the team. But you're just such an inspiration to me. And we have a huge age gap. You're not much younger than my daughters. You've always inspired me. You've always motivated me. And I've just always enjoyed being in your presence and in your company because you're just such a positive vibe for me. And I'm so grateful for you.
Oh my God. Thank you, Kelly. That is so incredibly sweet. I love hearing that. And I mean, what I have learned from you over these years, I mean, I really feel like you have built me to be a better business person, a stronger salesperson, because that one's hard for me, but I've learned a lot of sales tactics from you. And going for it, like not giving up, which is what we're talking about today, like that's very inspiring. And actually what we discussed today is hitting me pretty hard today in some ideas that I have. And I'm like, I really need to channel Kelly Gunn and just move forward and do them and take a leap of faith and trust, So you're such an inspiration. And I'm so glad that we have got to be together, work together, stay in touch after all these years and beyond. I just know that there's so much more to come. So thank you for everything. And thank you for opening up on the show today and sharing your story.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
Yes. And again, Crazy Good Vintage is Kelly's new podcast. Check out social media too. Plus, you're going to want to check out Part-Time Pickers on Facebook and Instagram as well. And we'll link to everything. Kelly, thank you so much. Cheers. One last cheers. Thank you.
Thanks, Crystal.
Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Go show Kelly some love and support as she starts this new venture I'm so stoked for. And I will see you on the next CU. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Are you on Instagram? I'd love to see pictures of you listening to the show, a screenshot of your favorite episode, and/or your favorite wines. Share them with me. Just follow and tag @Crystal Uncorked. I can't wait to see you there. All right, I'll see you on the next CU.